Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Randomness, the cozy corner for all things weird, deep, and wonderfully unexpected. I am your host, Brittany, so grab a drink, get comfy, and let's talk. So today we are diving into a topic that's deeply painful for most people: infidelity. Why do people cheat? If you have been cheated on, you've probably asked this question 1,000 times. If you've cheated, you might struggle to understand your own behavior. And even if you've never experienced infidelity directly, the question is fascinating from a psychological standpoint. So here's what this episode isn't. It's not about excusing cheating or minimizing the harm it causes. Infidelity is a betrayal that can devastate people, families, and relationships, but understanding why it happens can help us make sense of painful experiences, recognize warning signs, and maybe even prevent it. So let's approach this with both honesty and compassion for the complexity of human relationships. Before we go any further, we need to address what we mean by cheating, because it's not as straightforward as you might think. Traditional definitions focus on physical affairs, having sex with someone outside a committed relationship. But many people consider emotional affairs just as serious, if not more so. Developing deep emotional intimacy, sharing secrets, or turning to someone else for emotional support that should come from your partner can feel like a profound betrayal. Then there's the question of what counts in our digital age. Is sexting cheating? What about following and liking someone's posts obsessively, subscribing to someone's OnlyFans, maintaining a dating app profile just to see, using AI companions for intimate conversation? Different couples have different boundaries, and what matters is whether you are violating agreements you've made with your partner. If you're hiding something because you know your partner would be hurt or feel betrayed, that's a pretty good indicator you've crossed a line. So for this episode, we're going to focus primarily on physical and emotional affairs, but the psychology we discuss applies broadly to various forms of betrayal. Let's look at what research tells us about how common infidelity actually is. Studies vary widely depending on how they define cheating and how they measure it, but most research suggests that somewhere between 20 to 25% of married people have had a physical affair at some point. Some studies put it higher, some lower. Emotional affairs are harder to measure, but they may be more common. The lines are blurrier and people might not even recognize they're having one until it's progressed significantly. Interestingly, the gender gap has been narrowing. Historically, men were more likely to cheat, but recent studies show women's infidelity rates have been increasing, especially among younger generations. And some researchers attribute this to women's increased financial independence and social freedom. Cheating isn't just a marriage problem either. Infidelity occurs in dating relationships, long-term partnerships, and even in the early stages of relationships. One sobering statistic: many people who have been cheated on don't know it. Not all affairs are discovered, which means the real rates might be higher than reported. Now, before we explore why people cheat, let's dispel some common myths. So, only bad people cheat. Come on now. Good people sometimes do bad things, and cheating doesn't mean someone is fundamentally immoral or lacking in character, though it is a serious ethical failure. Many people who cheat are otherwise kind, loving individuals who made terrible choices. Another myth, if someone cheats, the relationship must be terrible. But the reality, some people cheat in happy relationships. While relationship dissatisfaction is a factor in many cases, it's not the whole story. Sometimes people cheat despite being in relationships they value. Okay, what about once a cheater, always a cheater? Nope. While past behavior is a predictor of future behavior, it's not destiny. People can and do change, especially if they've done serious work to understand why they cheated and address those issues. Okay, cheating is always about sex. Nope. While physical attraction and sexual desire play roles, many affairs are driven more by emotional needs, validation, or escape. And the last myth we're going to talk about is if you're truly in love, you'd never be tempted. But come on now. Attraction to others doesn't disappear when you commit to someone. Being in a relationship doesn't make you blind to other attractive people. What matters is how you handle that situation or that attraction. And understanding these myths matters because they prevent us from seeing infidelity clearly. The truth is more complex and more human. Now, let's dig into the actual reasons. Research has identified several key factors. Unmet needs in the relationship, and this is perhaps the most commonly cited reason. People often cheat when they feel their emotional, physical, or psychological needs aren't being met. And this could be sexual dissatisfaction, lack of physical intimacy, sexual incompatibility, or feeling rejected by a partner. That can create vulnerability to affairs. Then we have emotional disconnection, feeling lonely in a relationship, not feeling heard or understood, or lacking emotional intimacy can lead people to seek connection elsewhere. Lack of appreciation or validation. Everyone wants to feel valued and desired. When people feel taken for granted or invisible to their partner, attention from someone new, it can be intoxicating. And then, long-term relationships can become routine, and some people cheat seeking the thrill and passion they've lost. And it's important to note, having unmet needs does not justify cheating. The ethical choice is to address these issues directly with your partner or leave the relationship. But understanding this helps us see the pattern. The simple reality is that opportunity plays a huge role. A lot of affairs begin not because someone was actively seeking to cheat, but because circumstances created opportunity and they failed to maintain boundaries. Work affairs are extremely common because, they spend a significant amount of time with their colleagues, often in situations involving stress, travel, late hours, and emotional intensity. You might work closely with someone, cross professional boundaries into personal territory, and find yourself in an affair before you fully realize what's happening. And of course, technology has expanded opportunity dramatically. It's easier than ever to connect with potential affair partners, maintain secret communication, and hide that evidence. Alcohol and other substances lower inhibitions and impair judgment, contributing to many infidelity incidents. Geographic separation, so business travel, long-distance relationships, military deployment, creates both opportunity and vulnerability. Some psychological factors make certain people more prone to infidelity, like attachment styles matter. People with anxious attachment might cheat as a preemptive strike against being abandoned. sabotaging the relationship before their partner can leave them. And those with avoidant attachment might use affairs to maintain emotional distance from their primary partner. Self-esteem issues can drive infidelity. Both low and high self-esteem can be risk factors. Low self-esteem might lead someone to cheat for validation and proof that they're desirable. Narcissistic traits and inflated self-esteem can lead to entitlement and belief that normal rules just don't apply. Childhood experiences shape behavior. Growing up with parents who cheated or in a chaotic family environment can normalize infidelity or just create dysfunctional relationship patterns. Mental health issues like depression, anxiety, or unpressed trauma can also contribute. Some people use affairs as escape from psychological pain or coping mechanisms. Impulse control and risk-taking tendencies correlate with infidelity. People who are generally more impulsive or sensation-seeking are statistically more likely to cheat. For many people, affairs are fundamentally about ego and self-image. The attention from someone new, it can feel incredibly validating, especially if you've been feeling ordinary or invisible in your regular life. An affair can make you feel young, attractive, desired, and exciting again. Some people cheat to prove to themselves that they still have it, that they're still attractive and desirable. And this often happens during midlife transitions or after experiences that shake self-confidence. Affairs can create a sense of having a secret, exciting part of your life that makes you feel special or different from everyone else going through the motions of everyday life. And certain relationship stages and life transitions show increased vulnerability to infidelity. The 7-year itch isn't just a saying, guys. A lot of relationships experience trouble around the 7-year mark when initial passion has faded and real life has settled in. After having children, especially in the first few years, relationships face enormous stress, exhaustion, reduced intimacy, role shifts from partners to parents, and feeling neglected can all contribute to affairs. Then you have major life changes like career transitions, health scares, or the death of parents can trigger affairs. These moments can prompt questioning and sometimes lead to destructive choices. Empty nest syndrome can destabilize marriages. Couples who have focused primarily on parenting may discover that they've grown apart and no longer know how to connect. And as messed up as it is, not all affairs are about attraction or connection. Sometimes they serve other purposes. Revenge affairs. Yep, they happen when someone cheats in retaliation for a partner's infidelity or other betrayals. It's a way of evening the score or regaining power. Exit affairs occur when someone wants out of a relationship, but they can't bring themselves to end it directly. So the affair becomes a way to force the issue or make the partner do the ending. How messed up is that? Many people who cheat are able to mentally separate their affair from their primary relationship. They can be genuinely loving partners while also maintaining an affair, keeping the two worlds completely separate in their minds. And this compartmentalization allows people to avoid confronting the contradiction in their behavior. It's a psychological defense mechanism that enables continued infidelity without constant guilt or cognitive dissonance. And not all affairs are created equal. Understanding different types helps us see the varying motivations. So there's one-night stands, typically driven by physical attraction, alcohol, poor judgment, and they are usually immediately regretted. Emotional affairs involve deep emotional intimacy without physical involvement, though they often eventually become physical. These can be more threatening to relationships than purely sexual affairs because they involve genuine emotional connection. Long-term affairs can last months or years, sometimes becoming parallel relationships. These often involve genuine feelings and create complex situations where people are living double lives. Serial affairs involve a pattern of repeated infidelity, often with different partners, and this pattern suggests deeper issues with commitment or intimacy. How about those cyber affairs? Entirely online through sexting, video calls, or relationships maintained through dating apps and social media. These blur lines between fantasy and reality. Can you be happy and still cheat? And this might be the most confusing aspect. Yes, people sometimes cheat, even when they're happy in their relationship. Esther Perel, a renowned relationship therapist, has written extensively about this. She argues that sometimes affairs aren't about dissatisfaction with a partner, but about dissatisfaction with oneself. People might cheat seeking not a different person, but a different version of themselves. An affair can temporarily provide an escape from responsibilities, an antidote to feeling ordinary, or a way to reconnect with lost aspects of identity. It's less about leaving the partner and more about leaving the self you've become. This doesn't make it less hurtful or more justified, but it explains why betrayed partners are often blindsided, believing everything was fine. We can't discuss why people cheat without acknowledging the devastation it causes. For the betrayed partner, infidelity creates trauma. It shatters trust, triggers emotional pain, and it can lead to anxiety, depression, and PTSD-like symptoms. Betrayed partners often experience intrusive thoughts and difficulty trusting not just the partner, but their own judgment. The discovery process itself is traumatic, whether finding evidence, hearing confession, or being told by others. And the sad thing is, children are often indirect victims, picking up on parental conflicts, even when affairs are kept secret. And if separation or divorce follows, they experience those impacts. Even the person who cheated often experiences guilt, shame, and the complexity of maintaining lies. While self-inflicted, this psychological burden is still real. Affairs damage not just the couple, but extended social networks, creating ripple effects through families and friend groups. So, the difficult question, can a relationship recover from cheating? And the answer is sometimes, but it's definitely hard work, and not all relationships should or can survive. Research shows that with proper intervention, some couples emerge from infidelity with stronger relationships than before. But this requires full disclosure and no continued contact with the affair partner. The unfaithful partner taking responsibility without defensiveness or blame shifting. The betrayed partner being willing to work through intense emotions and eventually move forward toward forgiveness, not forgetting, but releasing the need for vengeance. And both partners committing to therapy and addressing the underlying issues, time and patience. Rebuilding trust takes years, obviously, not months. And the willingness to examine what made the relationship vulnerable without blaming the betrayed partner for the choice to cheat. Some relationships don't survive, and they shouldn't if the cheating was part of a pattern of abuse, or if trust can't be rebuilt, or if the betrayed partner can't move past it. Ending the relationship is probably the healthiest thing to do. There's no shame in either choice, staying or leaving, as long as it's made consciously and with support. And while no relationship is completely immune to infidelity, some practices reduce that vulnerability. Maintain emotional and physical intimacy. Don't let your relationship become purely functional. So prioritize date nights, meaningful conversations, and physical affection. Communicate openly about your needs. Don't expect your partner to read your mind. Express what you need and listen to what they need. And set clear boundaries about opposite sex or same sex, depending on orientation, friendships, and what's appropriate. Discuss boundaries around flirting, private communication, and spending time alone with others. And be honest about attraction. Pretending you're never attracted to others creates unrealistic expectations. So being able to acknowledge attraction without acting on it is mature and honest. And work on your individual mental health. Address your own insecurities, past trauma, or psychological issues. A lot of affairs stem from individual problems rather than relationship problems. And don't wait until things get terrible. Check in with each other about satisfaction and what needs attention. Create transparency around devices and accounts. If you're hiding things, ask yourself why. And try to recognize warning signs like increased secrecy, emotional distance, or unexplained absences and address them before they become this big major crisis. And if you find yourself attracted to someone outside your relationship, you can acknowledge it honestly to yourself. Attraction happens. It's not a crime or a betrayal by itself. Create distance, minimize contact with the person you're attracted to. Don't seek them out or create opportunities to be alone together. And do not confide in them. Redirect energy into your relationship. Often, attraction elsewhere highlights needs not being met. Address those needs with your actual partner. Talk to a therapist, not the person you're attracted to. That should be pretty obvious. And remember the consequences. Affairs might seem exciting, but they cause serious damage. The temporary thrill isn't worth the long-term destruction. And if you're seriously considering infidelity, that's a sign something needs to change. Either work on your relationship or end it. But don't betray someone who trusts you, okay? Understanding why people cheat does not excuse it, but it does help us see infidelity as a human behavior with complex causes rather than simply evil. People cheat for a lot of reasons. Unmet needs, opportunity, ego, life transitions, or a combination. And a lot of the time, the unfaithful person themselves doesn't fully understand their own motivations until forced to examine them. If you've been betrayed, understanding the why, it doesn't erase the hurt, but it might help you stop personalizing it. It wasn't necessarily about you in any way. Often it was about the other person's issues, poor choices, and failure to handle vulnerability appropriately. And if you've cheated, genuine self-examination is necessary. Understanding your behavior is a first step toward ensuring you don't repeat it and toward making amends if possible. And if you're simply trying to build a healthy relationship, understanding infidelity helps you recognize vulnerabilities and work proactively to maintain trust and connection. Ultimately, relationships require ongoing work, honest communication, and continuous choice to honor commitments. Infidelity happens when people stop doing that work and start looking for easy solutions to hard problems. Okay, guys, thank you for joining me and talking about this with me. If you've been affected by infidelity, and would like to talk about it, you could speak to a therapist. Or if you would like to just, shoot me an email and share your experience, I would love to hear it. And keep things private, of course. Anyways, thanks for listening, guys. And until next time, choose honesty, choose communication, and choose to honor the people who you trust. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow. And remember, keep your energy grounded, your mind open, and your curiosity alive.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.